All right, thank you so much for having us. Thanks to Dan and the whole crew at Streaming Media. Super fired up to be here today, not only to share our story, something that we don't do too often in a format like this, so that's exciting. You're gonna have to go a little bit easy on me. And we're also just really excited because we don't think this is just our story. We think this is a global story of people who have a ton of their own content and want to experience it in the ways we've become accustomed to with services like Netflix or Spotify and the others. So, our journey began pretty early on, and we've been at this for quite some time. So, for me personally, I'm one of the co-founders of Plex, and when I started having children, I learned something that I didn't expect, and that was that children have a monk-like capability to watch the exact same movie over and over and over again, right? And this is in the day, I'm old, so this is when there was DVDs, like shiny things that became Frisbees and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and they wanted to watch the same thing again and again. And I'm lazy, so I was looking for a way to make this a lot simpler. And make it simpler, for me, because again, I'm lazy, but also in a way that my wife would be able to use it, and my children. So kind of at the heart of what Plex is about is really about making something fun and beautiful and simple for people to use. So, just by quick show of hands, how many folks in the room have some personal media, whether it's some photos or some videos, maybe some music, something that you have in your possession that you're collecting, and it's a train wreck, maybe, at least like mine was. So, if you kind of look at my story, this is some real numbers way back when, 2007-ish, when we started playing around with this. I had a number of devices that I wanted to be able to access this content on, whether it was my TVs in the living room, the bedroom, or my personal devices. I had all of this content. I also, when I started having kids, bought a digital camera. So for the first time, I didn't need to be royalty to be able to actually take a bunch of pictures of my kids. I'm also a terrible photographer, so I take tons of photos of them, hoping that one might get lucky here or there. So I have a huge photo collection. And at one point in time, I thought I was kind of cool. And I had a really kickin' CD collection from college when I actually was able to find music and listen to music and enjoy it. And I ripped that, and I wanted to access it. So I had a bunch of music, and then we started taking videos of the kids, and I had a bunch of DVDs that I had ripped, and I needed a way to organize this. So, basically, the vision is pretty simple. Give ourselves and our users one window into all of this content, right? To give them one fun, easy, beautiful way to access this content on basically any of their screens. So it's not just about giving me access to it. It's about making this work anywhere I care about it, whether it's on my laptop, on my tablet, on my phone, on my Roku, on my smart TV, on my console. So that's what we started building. We made a decision pretty early on that these platforms were going to open up to us, right? At the time, back in 2007, I don't even think you could write an app for iOS that wasn't just a web view or whatever. So it's easy when it's just a couple guys in a garage to, make a, big, bold move. And that big, bold move was we want to create a central place to store and manage this stuff and then be able to stream it, right? And we were seeing people do this in the cloud. And essentially, this was just kind of bringing this into your home, right? Bring this organization, the server technology, into your home so you can now do all the things that you could do with these other streaming services. So now today, we've actually got it to the point where our media server runs on just about every platform under the sun. So we started off on the Mac. We actually viewed the Mac Mini as kind of this perfect little home theater device that could serve and be a client hooked up to my TV for content. It could play HD stuff, it had a remote control, it was powerful enough to do the things we want to do. So we started on the Mac, have our biggest install base is on Windows. We have a Linux form of this, and you'll see under this NAS category, we're partnered with all of the leading personal network attached storage providers, right? So the big ones are Western Digital and Seagate. We've just launched on their platforms recently, but we've been working with Drobo and Synology and Netgear and Thecus and QNAP and all these guys for a long time. And for some folks, they've never heard these names or even thought about this, but this market is really growing. I've got some stats at the end we can look at, but as our laptops start to, I think less and less laptops exist today or being sold today, and those that do have smaller capacity SSD drives. I've got phones that take high resolution photos and high resolution video. I need some place to store this. And for people who take a lot of those things, the cloud is not affordable enough or reliable enough or personal enough to satisfy that. So we're seeing a lot of NAS technology and competition there, which is exciting for us because we're one-click install on all of those devices. We also have streaming clients for all the browsers and all of the mobile platforms. So for us, that means iOS, that means Android, it means Windows Phone, yep, and it means Windows 8 and Amazon Fire devices, pretty much anything that you can stream to that's mobile in essence. And we've been doing that for quite a while. And now we have a pretty complete smart TV story as well. We've spent a lot of time in the past year or more working on our HTML5 client, and I'm going to show that in a little bit, which gets us on devices like LG and Philips and Vizios and Toshibas and Samsungs and Sony devices and others. And then we have a big streaming device footprint as well. So Android TV, Chromecast, the Roku, Fire TV. We're actually today announcing that we will be available on TiVo devices starting in early June. So that's a big new relationship that we're announcing today. We're pretty excited about. We also have an app available on all of the major gaming consoles, all the way back to the 360, Xbox One, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and the Ouya as well. And then I mentioned the cloud stuff up here. We have some technology that allows people to take content that they have stored in their home and easily one-click sync it up to their cloud storage provider of choice, whether that's Dropbox or Google Drive or Box or whatever, and then be able to access that content and stream it outside of their home. Whether or not they may not even have a device on at home that's serving this content, they can go straight to Plex.tv from within the app. It just works, and then they can stream it straight from the cloud storage provider to their device. So really trying to start to help people work in a hybrid world, which is, I think, what we see the future really is going to be for people who have this content. Some people may be pure cloud, some people may be pure in-home. We think that a lot of people are probably going to float a little bit between the two based on different needs. So with that, we've actually gotten to the point where we're, one of the key apps on a lot of these platforms. So if you were to go look right now, I didn't look this morning, but I looked yesterday, I think we're the 8th most watched app on the Roku, which I think sometimes surprises a lot of folks who don't use Plex because they didn't realize that. But we believe and we know that this personal media is really important to people, right? The photos of their kids and their music collections and their family videos is something that is, they will go out of their way to figure out a good solution for. And so this was taken a little while ago, so we're number 4. We've actually introduced a new version of our Plex app in a private channel on the Roku for our Plex Pass subscribers, and that's actually moved us down a little bit in the rankings because our most serious users have now gone to an app that's not tracked, and we'll bring that back later in the year. Android TV, you can see we're one of the key apps there. We have over 1.5, almost 1.6 million active installs on the Roku. And that's kind of pretty consistent on the other platforms. We've just happened to be on the Roku a little while longer. So we've got, the story here is, it's very personal, yet somehow this story has gone, pretty global. So we have millions of users around the world, millions of active users around the world. We have over 5 million households that have registered. We say households because traditionally, you set up this once in your home and it might serve a whole family of their personal media needs. And we're growing by at least 300,000 users a month. So we're starting to see, at first I think some of our concerns was, well, this is cool to us. Will this strike a chord with other people? And frankly, we've gotten to these numbers with almost no outbound advertising. So there is something going on here. This is all word of mouth, or what we call word of blog, people who get it. We have a lot of people who tend to be more technical, so a lot of the tech blogs will cover the things that we're doing. And I think that's how the word is spread, but it's mainly friend to friend, right? Hey, check this thing out. Hey, you've got this problem, here's a way to solve it. So that tells us this is important to people. And I think the other interesting thing is it's not just a US thing. This is, for us, half of our users, more than half of our users are actually outside the US. So that also tells us this is not just some little niche market thing. This is a global problem. Everyone's creating photos, everyone's creating videos, everyone has this. So with that, I want to show you what this is. I'm going to give you a little demo of what Plex is, so you can kind of position it, because it's not Netflix, it's not Spotify. It's a little different, but it gives you an opportunity to create your own Netflix or your own Spotify. And I'm going to say this up front because I'm pretty positive something will blow up here. I just don't know what, but we're in this together. So this is a view. So I've installed the Plex Media Server on my laptop here. I have one running in my home. I can connect to that pretty easily. But what I want to show you is this is our kind of our management app, and this is my laptop here. And it's this easy. Typically, when you install it, it'll walk you through a wizard, and basically all you need to do is just tell it where your content is. So I'm going to create a sample movie folder here. These are movies that I've DVR'd. And I'm just pointing it at a folder of those movies. I'm going to add it, and boom. That's pretty much it. So it's now going to scan for all of these video files I have in there. I've done just enough naming of these files so that Plex can match that movie to some, because I'm telling it's an actual movie folder, meaning it's just some commercial movie that might have information online, metadata online. So our system then goes out and figures out what movie that is, and we're really good at that. We've been doing that for a long time, and it'll then go and get all of the metadata for that movie. So you can see it's now pulled up. You can't see it probably very well, but there's background art. It's got the summary. It knows who the director is, the writer, the cast. It's got all the stuff you'd expect. We've done some media analysis, so I know it's 1080p, and it's got Dolby, and it's 5.1. I know what genre it is, what the rating is, content rating, all that stuff shows up instantly for this movie. And now I've got this, this little content library. I can have multiple folders around my network if I need to, if they're not all tidy in one place. And we've now made this really gorgeous. You can see some of these movies I've had in my library before, and this little line underneath here is how far I made it through that movie before I fell asleep or got distracted or whatever it happened to be. So if I go back, it's keeping track. I'm actually going to delete this because I've already have a movie section with that, and it's going to be confusing to have these movies in here twice. So I can now see we do the same thing for TV shows. We go and get a ton of metadata for these different TV shows. Let's go find one here. This is something that was DVRing. We know if I had this set up, it would actually be playing the theme song for the show right now. So we do a bunch of stuff. Metadata is really, really important to us. And then I can go in and see which ones I've watched, which ones I haven't, and even get information specifically about an individual episode if I want, and the rating. So we do that for TV shows and movies. We do it also for home movies. So these are movies that, with my kids and the family, I can go in and tag them and create actors and do all that kind of stuff as well. Same thing for photos. So we can help you manage your photo collection, and we have some exciting stuff coming in that vein. And actually, just recently, we had a pretty major release around music. So we announced that we've done a deal with Gracenote, which has a ton of music metadata and some technologies around being able to do fingerprinting of audio, Shazam-like sonic fingerprinting of tracks, so that you can get a perfect match to a song, an album, and an artist. So if you've got, like me, kind of a train wreck of oh God, I can't believe this, I'm sorry. I've got a mess of content, and your tracks are not well tagged, then this thing should be able to go through and clean it up and make it look really, really nice. It'll go in, let's go find, I think we found an artist that's actually on Beck. Here is a good one. Whoops. Beck, and here you can see we've got we've got art for him, we've got a description for him, we know exactly what genre he's in. This is all really, really clean metadata. This is not bogus. We actually go and pull the most popular tracks from his stuff. We've done a deal with Vivo so that we can integrate music videos into your music library here as well. So you'll see this little icon here means that I can play that music video on demand right now. Got his albums. Here's all the music videos that Beck has out there. And we can even see that he's on tour, and we update that information regularly and see where he is. And I can see similar artists in my library, so I can now start exploring around wherever I am. We've got a music player built into the web app. And then this content will now be available basically everywhere. We also have the ability to create a Plex mix, which is essentially like your iTunes Genius radio type of capability as well, where it'll make a playlist from content in your library that works with the song that you've triggered it from. So we've really taken music to the next level. So now I think what I'll do is I'll switch and I'll show you what this looks like on a mobile device. So this is, I know it's gonna be tough for some of the folks in the back, but this is our Android app. I figure Android doesn't get enough show at these things, so we're going to show our Android app here. And you can see, you can't see it, there you go. This is my laptop server that I'm able to access. And I can access this both on the local network like I am right now, but you can also choose to publish your server, and we can make your server available to you anywhere over 3G, LTE, or whatever, and you can not only access the content, but you can stream the content to the mobile device as well. So we can see, here's a movie, it's got all the same metadata, and I can play the movie right on here if I want to. And our server will actually transcode, based on bitrate requirements. So if this is a 1080p movie and I'm coming in over 4G, the server will automatically, in real time, transcode that video, maybe downmix the audio and fix the bitrate so I can get it to this device. Or if it's a format like an AVI that iOS can't play, we'll transcode that as well. If it's something that we can actually transmux, if it's something that we can take the original, say, H.264 and repackage it into HLS, we'll do that as well. So we're always trying to optimize the experience for the situation, and we've put a lot of work into our media decision engine to make sure that we can stream at the highest quality given the constraints that we have, either device or network. You can see with our mobile apps, Plex Pass users can actually sync the content to the device and take it with them. So I could choose to do this, it'll prepare the file, I'll download the file, it'll be available on this device, and then from there I can either watch it, or these devices will actually show up as a little mini media server on the network I am. So if I go to my friend's house and he happens to have a Roku or a Chromecast, it'll actually be able to browse this and stream it right off of my phone. I don't have to be on the network to do that. So some interesting things like that. We also have the ability to cast to different devices. Both all the Plex apps can be cast to, as well as Chromecast, and we support AirPlay even from the Android app as well. So you can see I've got all of my content here, right? So all of the content that is available on my media server is available in a really beautiful and convenient way on my mobile device. So here's all my music. I can see, all that same music and get a lot of that same information, right here. I can watch the music videos. I can see all the albums, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the mobile experience. And then I'm going to switch one more time here. I'm waiting for something catastrophic to happen because this hasn't blown up yet. And here's our big screen app, right? So this is kind of our direction for the 10-foot experience. We're really trying to make it more beautiful and very easy to get to the content I care about at my fingertips here. So you can see I'm in the middle of these. I can resume watching. I can see recently added content, recently added music, recently added movies. We actually have a feature that we call Watch Later. We can let you queue up content that you see around the web. So we have a little bookmarklet, Every user actually gets their own personal email address at plex.tv, and you can actually send URLs our way, so we can queue up videos on Vimeo or YouTube or whatever, so you can now see them later. You can even recommend them to your friends. So these are videos that have been recommended to me, all here on my dashboard. So, and then if I want to, I can dive in and see all this content. We're actually trying to help you explore the content in your library. There's not a lot of content on this laptop, showing me the top unwatched movies, by rating in my library, movies I'm in the middle of, recently viewed movies, etc. And then if I need to, I can actually drill down and explore these movies. I can start to, see related movies. We can start to see, more by a particular genre very easily, right? So again, trying to give you that experience that you've come to expect from other on-demand services from your own library. And we'll do the same thing here for music and for photos and your home videos as well. So I think that gives you at least a pretty good idea of the types of things that we're doing. You can see here's an artist. Here's all the videos from that artist that I can play. So all that same content now available from a remote control. So that's the demo, and it didn't break, so something else bad will happen later. So now one of the big questions that comes up is, what's the business here, right? We don't license content, right? This is a totally bring your own content in this world, right? These are your photos, these are your home videos, this is your music collection. So that was actually a really good question. We asked ourselves that question for a long, long time and try to figure out what's the right thing to do here. How do we bring this amazing technology to people, but then eventually be able to create a business and keep making it better and better and support it in a formal way? So what we did was we came out with what we call the Plex Pass, and you won't be able to read it, so I'll give you, a couple of the highlights here. But what we have is, it's a freemium model. So anyone can come and download the server for free. A lot of the apps are free. Some of the mobile ones have an in-app purchase for $5. But ultimately, a lot of the core technology that we just saw is available completely for free. What we've done is we've created a subscription that enables advanced features. So I talked about the music fingerprinting and the Plex Mix and the Vivo videos. That's actually a Plex Pass benefit, right? So you can still do music in Plex, and it's really good, but with the Plex Pass, it gets even better. Same thing for the ability to sync, right? You can still use Plex, you can stream it anywhere, but if you want to sync it to your mobile device and take it with you, that's a Plex Pass feature. We have really sophisticated parental controls, so you can create accounts for your kids and control what content they have access to or not. That's a Plex Pass feature. The ability to sync to the cloud. We have a really cool feature in our mobile apps that allow you to automatically in the background upload all of your camera roll photos back to your media server. So you know that everything on your phone is backed up, it's back in your control, and then you can easily view it on all your devices or even share it. One of the things I didn't go into here much is you actually can share libraries in your media server with your friends and your family. So for example, my parents have access to my kids' the home video library and the photo library. So on any device they sign into, they actually can stream from my house onto their TV or their mobile device any of those pieces of content that I've made available to them. And then we've added this ability to get trailers and extras. So if you've got movies and stuff in your library, we'll get the behind the scenes stuff. We'll get the official movie trailers for those. You can even run Plex in a mode where you can get cinema cinema-like experience where it'll pre-roll a couple trailers before the main feature starts, which people asked for. And then we also provide early access to some of the apps as we're kind of pushing them through a preview mode. I mentioned the Roku app. That's another benefit of the Plex Pass is you get early access. And then we also make the mobile apps, which typically cost $5, free to Plex Pass users. So there's a bunch of reasons why people would upgrade to a Plex Pass subscription. And we're trying to constantly find ways to make Plex great as a whole and to improve it if you subscribe. So the good news is we've been on all these devices, and last year we added a whole bunch of platforms. We're kind of almost done adding platforms, unless there's some platforms I don't know about coming out. We'll probably want to get on there too. But now we're really in the mode of trying to make them really powerful and work really, really well and have feature parity across all those apps. So, but since the beginning, people have been really, really excited about what we're doing, kind of giving them control over this content. So, you can see some of the different things that people care about is the ability to stream, to anywhere they happen to be from their home, right? So that's a core, thing that people love, be able to stream their whole music collection to anywhere without having to sync everything to their device and worry about how much space they have and things like that. And I think, it's just the convenience and the control is what people really enjoy. So the other thing is that it's a really highly rated app, right? We're not just throwing this out there and we're trying to tell people, again, it's all been word of mouth. So you have to have highly rated apps. So we're at 4+ on every platform we're on. Our goal by the end of the year is to be 4.5 everywhere. It's really, really hard because people use their 1 stars to give us feedback on things that they want, and that bring things down. But I think we've got it at a point right now where we're pretty confident that anyone who picks it up should be able to get some real value out of it and enjoy it. So switching gears a bit to kind of what we're seeing in the world, right, which I think is probably a lot of stuff that you folks are seeing as well. But I think we were always concerned that we were dealing with something that was a little bit niche-y, a little bit, we love this. Certainly some other nerds love this, but the broader universe really like this. And here's a handful of the trends that we're seeing that, and stats that kind of lend credence that this is an important part of the whole landscape here for an individual. Over 35 billion songs downloaded from iTunes total, right? That is a ton of music in people's possession. Over 300 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every minute, and 380 billion plus photos taken every year. And from our perspective, this is opportunity for everyone, but in particular, to help people manage, this explosion of content. If we look at the storage situation, we touched on that before, it's predicted that the average household will have somewhere around 3.5 terabytes by 2016. I think a lot of that's going to be on these network-attached storage devices over time. But today, it's desktops and laptops with USB drives plugged into them. We've got, we think that these stats seem pretty real to us. Seeing what we're seeing is that personal storage market is going to grow from 5 billion to 40 billion in the course of the next 5 years, from 2012 to 2019. And the cloud storage market is huge already and growing really fast. So looking at a $100 billion market over the course of the next 5 years. And like I said earlier, that's great. I mean, as far as we're concerned, where the content is stored shouldn't be the issue. The fact that it's your content that maybe you're not going to publish on a social media site, or it's your content that you don't want to upload to some streaming service is great. That's the type of market we're going for. We think there's this personal space that is just as important as the other space as well. And then more devices, right? I mean, I think I can just look around the room and see the phones and the laptops and the pads and everything here. The sheer number of these makes this problem harder and harder and makes it more important that it gets solved. And this is the number of camera-equipped phones and the fact that so much of this viewing is going mobile and going to tablets and phones is another key component here, that we needed to be able to build something powerful enough to be able to stream to these devices from whatever network that person happens to be on or it happens to be coming from. We don't get to control both ends of this equation. We're finding ourselves having to work with really low-end processors on these devices with people who have really lousy upload bandwidth, and we're coming up with some creative solutions around trying to make that work. And then finally, the connectivity situation, right? I think the expectation, because of all these other great streaming services, is it just works no matter what. Everyone is connected, so now we've are in a position where we have to work within that framework and really meet people's expectations around what they can do with that connectivity. When we look at the amount of TV viewing, I would still say for us, it's an interesting stat that while almost all of our users, or at least 80% of our users, probably use Plex or have used it on the big screen and a mobile device, whether that's in the home or outside the home, where the actual time spent viewing content is on the big screen. Certainly people spend time viewing it on their mobile devices, but the real heavy usage is on the big screen. So seeing the sheer number of smart TVs and the other connected devices that are there is, key to what we're seeing on the growth here, right? People still, as much as we're watching this stuff on tablets and phones, sitting on the couch, of which I'm a role model, is where people, want to watch that content. So I think, at the end of the day here, our goal has been to replicate some of these beautiful user experiences that we've seen in other places where the content's controlled and bring that to a personal level to give people access to their media anywhere, anytime, to not be tied to one platform. I think that's one of the big advantages we have. We do think this is a multi-platform world, whether that's different platform on your smart TV or whatever connected device you might happen to have in the other room, or what game console you choose, or what mobile operating system you're on. We want to provide a consistent and cohesive experience across all of these for you to organize, discover, and share any of this personal content at any time. And we think, so for us, it started off as this very personal hobby and has turned into, a thriving business that's global and growing quickly. And it's really been exciting to be a part of this, and really exciting to see where we're all going to go and take this together. So thank you very much, and I think we're going to do some Q&A now.
All right, we have a question right over here. Excuse me.
Hey, congratulations on TiVo.
Thank you.
And in your talk, you mentioned DVR. What about us that don't have TiVo, have Comcast, Cox, Charter, whatever? How are we going to tap into that last frontier?
Stay tuned. We are. There's a couple things you can do today. I mean, I actually personally still have a Windows Media Center rig hooked up that I DVR stuff off of my cable card. And I use that with Plex all the time. So a lot of people will record using some system, whether it's Windows Media Center or ITV or whatever. There's a couple other things. There's a Kickstarter going on right now by the HD Home Run guys, Silicon Dust, for a DVR with that. And integrating that with Plex is super simple. Point the recordings at a folder, point Plex at the folder, and you get all of this. So I think already there's a solution, but we can certainly do more over time on that.
With all those supported platforms, how does your company and development team maintain all those with new versions coming out and new firmwares, et cetera?
So I'll give you a little background on our team. We've got kind of an interesting model. So my co-founder is actually in Maui. So we started the business on day one totally virtually. And we've continued to do that. Our development team is actually spread throughout the entire universe. We've got folks in Sweden and Amsterdam and Spain and France and Germany and Switzerland and Portugal and South Africa and Russia and New Zealand and Mexico and Canada. And what we've done is we basically have hired the best people in the world to work on this project. And so I think part of what and we're about 45 full-time people, so we're not a huge team supporting almost every streaming platform and serving platform at the same time. So your question's a good one. We have to make smart decisions, right? Like everything we do has to be scalable. And because of the challenge and because of the issues that we've seen, every decision has to be smart. Otherwise, we pay the price, and we have paid the price, a couple times. But we try to pick up and learn from that. So thankfully, we have really good relationships with almost all of these partners. I think if you were to go and ask any of them, in general, we're really good to partner with because we really care, right? We really want this to work. And typically, there's someone on the team who is a true fan or advocate of that platform. And they tend to be the lead. They tend to be a developer, right? And they often will get those firmwares in advance. So almost all of our partners will share stuff early with us, and we work really closely with their QA and ours to make sure things are going to work. It's not always perfect, but we take a lot of time to make sure that the core things are supported on upcoming firmwares. And like I said, we almost always get that stuff a little early, usually with enough time to test. And if not, what we do is we run early stuff through our Plex Pass thing, so people can opt in to earlier views, earlier access if they choose. So that's kind of our way to suss out, do we have some big regressions before we go mainstream with stuff.
I may have missed it in the beginning, but is this platform somewhat secured that you're screening for that people actually have rights to all the content that they're putting in here? Are you
So secure in the sense of rights. So I would say, Plex is not, we're not governing rights. That is not our place in this. We're essentially a tool and a platform for streaming content that you have. We don't stream any DRM'd content, right? Leave that to folks who, have access to DRM'd content and need to provide secure DRM access and make sure that's really safe. It is a bring your own content system. So, we think a lot of that usage are things that people have, good fair use rights for. We absolutely would not want to see people using us, in ways that would be illegal or violating rights. But it's hard at some level to manage that. There's really no way for us to control, what people do with their systems.
If you're contacted by somebody who has rights to content and they think a user that's using Plex doesn't have rights to it, do you take it down? Do you take it out?
So first of all, that's since 2007, that's never happened, right, to an individual user that I'm aware of. We've had some people have, frankly, they've put up a Plex server and they've put content on there that they shouldn't, and they, publicized it, and once someone brought that to our attention, and boom, that account went away in minutes. But for the most part, there's no way for us to even know what people have. We don't know what content you have on your server and what you're viewing. We're not in the middle of that loop in any way.
Some more questions. While I'm waiting for one, we have a couple submitted earlier. What does Plex think about the future for 4K?
Yes. So 4K is actually something that our users have started to really, ask us a lot about. And I think, the GoPros and other devices that actually help people create 4K content is great for two reasons. One, hopefully higher quality content, and two, for us, it's another reason that having the content in the home makes sense, right? That you want to stream this super high bitrate content, might be tough to do that over the average internet link, at least in the original resolution. So we had a lot of interest. We're starting to see more TVs support it. Our challenge, frankly, is that some of the devices only support H.265, and the CPU horsepower required to convert like a 4K H.264 video into H.265 is pretty heavy duty, and it's just some devices just aren't going to be able to do that. We do most of our transcoding live in real time, so to do something like that requires pretty beefy stuff. The H.265 transcoder or encoders that we've seen just haven't been optimized yet, and I don't know what the exact future on that is. Hopefully they get a lot more efficient, but what we'll probably look at doing, frankly, is more background transcoding to prepare the content in advance for devices that can only stream in certain formats, and then I think we solve that problem that way. We do what we've done in some cases, and certainly we'll do in more, is make sure that the streaming supports 4K on that device. So in some cases, it's as simple as the media player just does it automatically. In other cases, we have to work some magic on the platform to enable that.
One other question, as somebody who works with a lot of different partners and products, et cetera, will there ever be any video standards?
I don't know. In some ways, I hope not, right? Because it makes our job more and more valuable. And on the other side, I do. I mean, the one thing that we use almost everywhere is we use HTTP live streaming with H.264. So that's been a big one, and it's been almost always we can kind of rely on good support on these platforms. I will say we do tend to break these platforms. Most of these platforms are used to streaming stuff off of Netflix or YouTube or Amazon or YouTube or whatever, and the internet bit rates that they're used to seeing are sometimes a lot different than a remuxed Blu-ray or something like that might be in someone's collection. And we tend to blow up decoders and the whole stack sometimes with stuff that these things just have never seen before and wouldn't see in their day-to-day usage. So sometimes if you see us kind of late to a certain platform, it's probably because we're pushing the limits of what that platform can do, and we're working with folks to get that fixed. But will we see standards? Part of me also says I hope we keep progressing. I hope we keep pushing the envelope, and that usually means, from my experience, that standards follow a little later. We tend to be on the cutting edge.
Question right here.
You talked about managing all of your growth from a scalable perspective. What are the big challenges in terms of scaling the areas, i.e. maybe as you're managing peak demand, transcoding, as your user base grows, et cetera?
So, I mean, one of the greatest things about what we're doing today is it's the most distributed platform in the world, right? We've got millions of Plex media servers running all over the place because it's technology you run in your home, you run it on your NAS, you run it on your laptop, you run it on your desktop or whatever it happens to be. So the challenge there is supporting millions and millions of instances of our software running on, you know, combinations, you know, 20,000 plus different combinations of hardware, right? I sometimes get a little jealous of folks who control that end of the equation, right? They control the hardware, they control the network, they control where it runs, they control what software's running on there, and other things that run on the stack alongside it. Well, we don't get any of that, right? So that's been a challenge for us. You know, we've seen Windows XP is now, you know, no longer fully supported. It's hard for us to support platforms like that, right? These NAS providers all bring their own operating system, so that's fun to manage. So we've bumped into issues around that, but we've gotten pretty good around that piece. Over time, as we do more and more in the cloud, you know, we're a AWS shop. We actually use a number of other cloud service providers as well. So we're actually able to pretty easily throttle up and throttle down services based on demand.
Do you have plans for supporting apps within Plex like Netflix or Hulu?
So we don't have any plans to do that today, the premium content apps, because of the DRM requirements. You know, we've got enough on our plate right now just making what we have work really well, and I don't think Netflix or these other ones really care to, you know, they're building awesome apps themselves. Do I envision a world where, you know, perhaps there's some interplay there? I mean, yeah, I do, I hope so, but I don't think it'll ever be streaming inside of Plex. I just think that's not in their interest. I think they have deals with their rights holders that may prevent that, et cetera. So I don't see that happening. Now, for the tier below that, the non-premium DRM stuff, we already have a system. We call them channels. I didn't show them yet here, but I'd be happy to show you in a bit. We're actually on the exhibit floor. We're demoing, so we have stuff set up. So if anyone wants to see this and try to break it and do all that stuff, we're happy to do that. We'll all be there. But the channels allow people to plug in access to other content sources. Today, they're not officially supported, but there's hundreds of these channels that give you access to online streaming stuff, not DRM'd content, but, you know, stuff below. There's a great Vimeo plugin, for example, and TED Talks and things like that. So we do have access to that layer, and we actually think we can play a part in making that a better experience. The ability to do this bookmarklet on a video or email a URL to your Plex account and have it just show up everywhere is really, really valuable and well used across the system.
Any last question? All right, we have one more question here.
Is any of your technology on the server that's doing the transcoding, is any of that open source or available to take, you know, contributions?
There are components that are. The core brain behind the system is closed source. There are components that are open. Some of the channel stuff, some of the actual. Well, there are pieces that are. We can be happy to talk about that. We actually. Typically what we find is that people want to contribute. We tend to work closely with them. We have a number of people over the years that we've put NDAs in place with and have worked with, and it's been great. And that's how I would say some great proportion of our developers have come in because they're like, hey, I want to do this. And we're like, how about you do that and all these other things, and we'll pay you. So that's actually been a great way for us. But we've actually, we've had folks even just say, hey, I want to fix this one thing. You know, either are you going to fix it or can I fix it? And we've worked with them on that.
Excellent. A nice round of applause, please. Scott Olechowski. And as Scott said, as soon as you enter the exhibit hall, on the left at the Streaming Devices Pavilion, we have Plex set up on several TVs and devices, and he'll be there, and you can get your hands on them and play around. So the exhibit hall's now open, and thank you. Enjoy your day here at Streaming Media.